Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm Mark Morris. Today I want to do a contest. It's called the youngest member of the vinyl community Mega Vinyl Bundle Contest. A long name, but some great prizes. I saw this over at Emma's 8 Vinyl Low channel. Let me read you the instructions for the contest first. 1. Show an album that reminds you of a best friend. 2. Show an album from your favorite band artist from New Jersey and or Philadelphia. 3. Share your favorite part of the youngest members of the VC Take New Jersey mini-series. And she links to all this stuff on her page, and I'll link to her below so you can go to her official instructions and look all this stuff up. And then you must be subscribed to the youngest members of the vinyl community. I wanted to get in on this contest because those 5 records, I'm not going to tell you what they are. They're really good records. I want every single one of them. Each member of the youngest member of the vinyl community donated a record to the cause. They're all great records. Honestly, I'm going to tell you to participate in this contest, but if you don't, more chances I'm going to get those records, and I really want those records. Okay, let's get right into this. Show an album that reminds you of a best friend. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to show 2 albums that remind me of the same friend. When I was in junior high and high school, my best friend was a guy named Brian Ferguson. And this guy was probably the first friend I ever had that I just really felt like I could talk about anything. The first person I really had really in-depth conversations with, and we got along on so many levels. But one of the things that bonded us right off the bat was we both loved Alice Cooper. When I was 14 years old, I remember it so well. It was my birthday, and Brian lived on the other side of town. You know, we were 14, neither of us had transportation. But one night before I went to bed, a car pulls in my driveway, and it's Brian and his dad. His dad brought him over. He runs to the house, knocks on the door, hands me this record and says, "Happy birthday." And he says, "I gotta go. My dad says I can only stay a second," and he took off. Alice Cooper's Love It to Death. I'd never heard the album before. Of course, it has the hit I'm 18 on there, but the other song on here that we both just loved was is a song called The Ballad of Dwight Fry. And Dwight Fry was a character actor in those old Universal monster movies. He was always playing Fritz or Igor, just kind of always a madman. Well, we both love those old Universal monster movies. And so this album, for sure, every time I see it, and this is the exact album. This is the one he gave me when I was 14, and you can tell it's been well loved. Anyway, this is one of the albums, but I wanted to talk about this second album that even has more meaning for me. It's David Bowie's Hunky Dory, and we both got into David Bowie about the same time. Well, there's a song on here called The Bewlay Brothers. As Brian and I got older, we started the same bad habits together. Brian was usually ahead of the curve on me, but we started drinking. We started participating in other things I would never encourage anybody to do. Psychedelics, that kind of stuff. Anyway, there's a song on here, The Bewlay Brothers, and I just remember I'd be over at his house. He had when I first met him, he lived in a room downstairs at his parents' house. When his older sister moved out, who I had a huge crush on, one of the most beautiful women from this town. Anyway, when she moved out, he moved up into her room, and it was hilarious because she had this pink floral wallpaper everywhere. It really looked like a girl's room, but Brian had put all these rock and roll and horror posters all over. It was such a weird juxtaposition. I brought this record over and I said, hey, this Bewlay Brothers song reminds me of you and me, because it kind of goes into this kind of madness in the song. It's a beautiful song. Listen to it if you haven't. But anyway, that kind of became a thing for us. We were the Bewlay Brothers. Brian is probably the first hardcore alcoholic I ever met. He wasn't that way when we started. We had a lot of fun, but as time went on, it became really apparent that Brian really had a problem with alcohol, and I abused alcohol. Most of our friends abused alcohol, but Brian was a different case, and it was tragic to watch, because every year it just seemed to get worse, and every time we got together, something horrible would happen. Sometimes he would end up arrested. Sometimes I would end up arrested. It stopped being fun, and we didn't hang out as much. Eventually, the alcoholism killed him at a rather young age. But I've always remembered him fondly, and all the times and all the things we talked about. So in my first book, this isn't really an advertisement, but it could be, I suppose. In my first book, I wrote a poem called The Missing Bewlay Brother, and it's about my friend Brian Ferguson, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to read it. If you're not into this kind of thing, take me about 20 seconds to get through this. You can just fast forward this. But this is called The Missing Bewlay Brother, and it's for my friend Brian Ferguson. The Missing Bewlay Brother. If I would have known, I would have acted differently. For example, I would not have shotgunned beers with you until daylight smashed the windows of your sister's bedroom. I would have never extolled the virtues of madness, and I certainly never would have convinced you that the world was an oyster for the likes of you and me. At 4 a.m., I would not have played the Bewlay Brothers on the phonograph, and then tell you it reminded me of us. I would have read your zombie screenplay with the reverence it deserved, and I would have happily accepted your invitation to see Alice Cooper when we were in the 8th grade. And I guess I told you I loved you often enough, but if I would have known, I would have liked to tell you one more time. And so that's the records that remind me of my friend Brian Ferguson. If I can find some pictures, I might throw them up there. The next question: show an album from your favorite band or artist from New Jersey or Philly. I'm kind of taking the easy way out, but what it says is your favorite band, not a band. There's lots of bands from New Jersey or Philly that I could choose, but I have such a strong favorite. I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't mention Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen, to me, especially these early records, just spoke to me. Just a true poet, this guy, and just such a great musician. These 3 albums I'm showing are some of my favorites, but I have a lot more, and I like them all. Darkness on the Edge of Town, of course. Nebraska. If you look through my playlist, there's one called Albums I Love Series. This is featured in that if you want my take on that. But Nebraska, possibly my favorite Bruce Springsteen record of all time. And this one, his best-selling record, Born in the USA. I know people have conflicting ideas on it, but I love that record. I don't care what anybody says. It's a great record. 3, Share your favorite part of the youngest members of the VC Take New Jersey mini-series. So, the youngest members of the VC, they take New Jersey. They filmed 5 episodes. I'm going to share Emma's link from 8 Vinyl Low down in the description, and you can go check it out, and she provides all the links you'll need. I want to share my favorite clip from the whole thing, and it's taken during a time Emma is celebrating her birthday with her friends, and she gets a particular record that I just find incredibly amusing. Let's take a look.
Like seriously, we went on a big to-do about this. Look at them beans. Okay, this is one of my favorite Johnny Cash songs of all time. It doesn't get better than when he's sitting there and he sings, "Look at them beans, look at that corn." Okay, doesn't get any better than that. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like a demo not for sale promo. Little white label in there, I'm assuming. No?
I don't think so. Oh, it is.
Happy birthday!
Okay, that's my submission. My last task is to go over to 8 Vinyl Low's channel and let her know that I've entered the contest. And despite what I said at the beginning, you should enter this contest too.